Right now, 99% of the people live in such a state of hypnosis and look for solutions for their issues only within the spheres of sleep. And if they realize that this doesn't really work out, they look for help from others who are also lost, or from people who are probably making use of their current state of unawareness. And this is what Gurdjieff already realized. In this video I'm going to give you a short introduction into the work of Gurdjieff, and when I was looking on YouTube I couldn't find any good videos about him, but his spiritual teachings are very valuable but not that easy to understand. So for those ones of you who do not know him, George Ivanovich Gurdjieff was a Russian mystic and philosopher, but he already passed away, I think, in 1949. Enough for his biography, let's dive right into his teachings. Gurdjieff was convinced that we do not perceive reality as it is, because our consciousness is not one, not unified. Hence we perceive reality out of a more unconscious and subjective perspective, but this can actually be changed and we can actually wake up and transform ourselves. And therefore he taught other people with specific methods that he came up how to increase our attention, energy and so on. And he actually tried to combine the wisdom from the East and the energy from the West and try to create a different spiritual path, let's say a shortcut. He's basically saying that the way we view ourselves as one being is actually distorted because we're playing many different roles and it's constantly changing. For instance, in the morning, let's say you did some yoga, pretty balanced, and you just feel good, but then at work, again you're stressed, and then you come home and then you spill over all those emotions and you're angry at other people without having a reason for it. So there are actually many separate identities within yourself, many eyes, he would say, and those actually constantly change, and those reflect different, let's say, identifications with thoughts, emotions, or any kind of desires. This should be clear. And Gurdjieff mentioned that it's really necessary to destroy all those identifications, and this can be done by imagining that those separate identities are not a part of yourself, but rather view them as objects. And this is called self-remembering. So you do this every day, the whole day, trying to remember yourself that these are only objects. And that's a pretty tough job, to be honest. And there are thousands of separate identities which make up the whole, but if you do not become aware of that, you can't really integrate them and transform your consciousness. Therefore, people couldn't really grasp the meaning of many ancient teachings, as Gurdjieff already pointed out, and he viewed other people such as, like robots, just behaving automatically, conditioned, and not questioning anything. And therefore, they are very prone to any kind of influences from society in general. And if you are interested in that topic, you should dive into the literature of mass psychology. And Gurdjieff's criticism can be seen in this following quote very well. And that's a hard one, because he's actually right with what he's saying. I mean, no one wants to do any evil, but as people are not aware of themselves and others, they are very susceptible to those kind of actions. And as they are confused, even if they might pretend to be aware of what is happening, in that state of insecurity and anxiousness, they are just looking for any kind of help for their issues. So they will just look around and ask others. And if you look at the current situation, Gurdjieff is right, on point. People are depressed, anxious, don't know what to do because they unlearned their actually natural state of consciousness and are just hoping that other people, let's say politicians, are going to solve their problems. But what would Gurdjieff say to get out of this situation? However, right now, 99% of the people live in such a state of hypnosis and look for solutions for their issues only within the spheres of sleep. And if they realize that this doesn't really work out, they look for help from others who are also lost, or from people who are probably making use of their current state of unawareness. And this is what Gurdjieff already realized, that we are not really centered and balanced, and other people can exploit this. So, in one sentence, put people in such a state of anxiousness that they only listen to their anxious I, one of many identities, then reinforce this identity and just repeat this whole process. And then you just need to reassure them that you can help them. They will follow you blindly because they themselves already gave away their power and they don't know how to solve these issues. Therefore, Gurdjieff points out that awakening is only possible for those ones who seek it and really want it, that are ready to always struggle with yourself, persistently work on yourself, and just put a lot of effort into that process. One simply needs to realize that one is caught and that there's no way out. And out of this desperateness, something greater can arise, something which is greater than all these individual selves, something that is more holistic, something higher. But how do you approach this which is higher? Essentially, he's saying you need to be so desperate to realize that nothing is working. So drop it, everything, especially everything which was taught by society, because what is society currently teaching is not going to support you in any way for your spiritual growth. So learn to let go of this, of our biased view, and just keep on going further and further. Be critical, realistic, and also desperate. And if you drop more and more, you will see that there's not much left in the end, but there's something. And Gurdjieff tried to support his students on that path by giving them really heartbreaking tasks. That guy used really every method that you can possibly think of at any time to pull his students out of that state of daydreaming and unconsciousness. There are some really crazy stories about some of his teachings and methods. For instance, digging a huge hole for a long time, many hours, maybe, I don't know, half a day, and when the disciple was done, he just told them, okay, just put the earth back, put it back where it was before. And you are like, what the fuck? So he really tried to destroy the ego of all his students, and therefore you need a lot of trust. But many disciples he had a hate-love relationship with them, especially with Ouspensky, who is probably the most known one, because he tried to translate Gurdjieff's teachings into English. All in all, I think that Gurdjieff is the hard way, there's no question about it, but I'm also convinced that if you do what is needed, this path can work out. And I mean, he has shown it, as he was an awakened one. Of course, his personality was not so easy to get along with, and he was, let's say, a very unusual man, but it can work, and therefore his teachings might only work for a very specific type of personality. It's more esoteric and not that easy to understand, but maybe it helps you. So there's definitely value in those methods, but I personally think that this process of awakening could potentially be made a little bit easier. Of course, it's a hard process. Life is very complex. It's hard work, as Gurdjieff described it himself, but I think that you can make it a little bit easier. But on the other hand, if you have people that say, this is way too complicated, I have way better ways, simpler ways, maybe that's true, but maybe they are rather seeking simplicity instead of reality. I will end this video with the following statement, that you can see how special he was and also his methods in contrast to many other masters. But if you feel like, just go for it and check out his literature. My name is Till, and this is Till Talk.